Dirkens here. About a month ago, I asked all of y'all out there in internet land to give me some relevant college football teams, and I'd do a preview of their upcoming 2018 season. So we talked about Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, Florida State. Now you're stopping going, whoa. Florida State had a bad season last year, lost their coach, got a new one. I kind of understand that. What about Tennessee? Well, let me tell you right now, after that fiasco of a coaching hire and they're historically a good football team, but they've been having a rough 15 years, had to talk about them. So, who do we talk about next? Well, this one's nowhere near any of us, unless you're out on the West Coast. The Stanford Cardinal. Now, I had to find out about Stanford Cardinal that it's not a bird, it's a color. That was a waste of 5 minutes of my life. We're going to go fight the fighting color swatches. Anyway, no offense, Stanford. Stanford has a lot of famous people who used to play for them, you know, even up to recently. John Elway, Jim Plunkett. We got Tubby Gerhardt. We got that Christian McCaffrey. I'm telling you, we got, if I didn't say Andrew Luck already, Andrew Luck. Just really interesting. Now, their overall record is not that great. I mean, they've won like over 600 games, but they've had 448 losses and a bunch of ties. I didn't know you could have that much ties. But anyway, they played in the very first Rose Bowl, found that out. Got the living branches ripped off that tree it represents them by the Michigan Wolverines, 49-0. First Rose Bowl. Wasn't even a game. But anyway, go back, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so. Jim Harbaugh came there. This before he left, went to San Francisco, and then San Francisco didn't like him anymore, and then he went to Michigan. Now they're paying him millions upon millions of dollars to get like 7 or 8 wins. But revitalized the boys. I mean, did really, really well, turned them around. Then David Shaw took over. I want to say he took over around 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. Forgive me. But at the end of the day, I thought that maybe David Shaw was kind of reaping the benefits of Jim Harbaugh's hard work. We've seen it all the time, but he actually did a pretty solid job. He's got good recruits coming into a school that's extremely difficult to recruit to because they have really, really high standards. It's not like going down there to Carolina and they ask you if you can spell half your name. You go, and they let you into the school. That's another thing for another day. But so Stanford last year had a really odd season. They finished 9-5, with capping it off with a loss to TCU and the Alamo Bowl, a couple of point loss. Then you turn around and you look that they lost to USC twice, one regular season. Then they met in their conference championship. The interesting loss was to San Diego State. Now, I know San Diego State just wasn't a horrible football team, but when you think about Stanford and the talent they have, like Bryce Love at Youngin playing for them, and you got David Shaw over there, you just don't understand why and how it happened. But they dropped 5 losses last year. And looking at this season, they were 6-0 at home, but they were 2-3 away from home. And on neutral sites, they were 1-2. Go figure. They lost to USC the first time, 42-24. Followed it up with a loss to San Diego State, 20-17, like I was talking about just a second ago. Then they won a bunch of games. They beat Utah 23-20. Then they beat Oregon. Oregon was nothing last year, hence Taggart leaving. 49-7. They win at Oregon State 15-14. Then they play that resilient Washington State team. Lost them by 3 points, 24-21. Beat Washington. Washington's a good football team. Beat Washington there at Stanford. That's a big game, 30-22. And then they beat their rival, California, 17-14. And then they beat their other rival, Notre Dame. And they did that pretty handily, 38-20. So you think, hey, the tide has turned. Then they turn around and play USC. Lose 31-28 in a close one, a conference championship. A Pac-12 championship, and then you finished off, as I said, with a 39-37 loss to TCU. In the first game, you're like, Bobby, you didn't even mention that. They played Rice, I think like an Australian, beat them like 62,000-0. Rice couldn't even snap the ball on time. I remember I actually watched that game because it's one of the very first college football games on. It was like watching a rec football team play Stanford. But anyway, kind of odd season. Bryce Love did have some ankle injuries and some other problems here and there. The youngin ended up rushing for 2,118 yards. And this 5'10", 200-pound power speed back who can run from here to there, from Raleigh, North Carolina, he's a very dangerous young man. And he's probably the front runner for the Heisman Trophy if you're really paying attention. So what does this look like for their coming season? A team that was once coached by the great Pop Warner. Bet you didn't think I'd find that out, did you? I'll go digging. I'll find out who you've been having an affair with, but I found out Pop Warner used to coach there, which I think's pretty cool. Well, it could be probably the best offense in the Pac-12 this coming year. I mean, they're returning. As I looked over this, they're returning their quarterback, KJ Costello. Now I know that youngin, that Christ youngin, Killer Christ, he transferred out. And he's going to Tennessee. He's going to probably be the starting quarterback for Tennessee this year. But you got KJ Costello, 6'5", 220 pounds. He led them. They felt good about him. Hence Keller saying, you know what, I believe I'm leaving. So Mr. Christ is now in Knoxville. Followed up with Bryce Love. Top 4 receivers out of the 5 are back. Leading off of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, as I said, from upstate of South Carolina. He had 9 touchdowns. Then you got Trent Irwin. That young'un caught 43 passes. Tell you right now, he caught everything. He caught the flu. He caught the virus. He caught the hepatitis. And that boy can catch anything, and he'll continue to catch this year if y'all in luck. Just get a shot for that stuff, if you know what I mean. Got a few other receivers. And then you got your place kicker back. Everybody forgets about the place kicker. You're sitting there going, what's the big deal? Until you need that kick to go through those uprights. This youngin, Jet Toner. He sounds like somebody fast, or he sounds like some type of fast printing machine. Jet Toner, 26 field goals. They believe in that youngin. They even got their punter back. It's pretty doggone good. 4 of the 5 O-line are back. And they are ready to play, beat down, throw the smack down. And if you're in the trenches with them, because they're at Stanford, they will try to fool you with trigonometry. Well, we got to talk about the defense for them. Normally, Stanford comes up with a pretty doggone good defense. Shaw is a really defensive-minded feller. The problem is, the line is questionable. Now, if you're these guys, the line is actually the best line in college football, and maybe one of the best in the history of college football if we're looking at things just based off of history, talent, even their backups. In this case, it's questionable. You have Jovan Swan. He's returning, but he only had 1.5 sacks and 3.5 sacks or tackles for loss. Doesn't sound like something just major. The linebackers are hopeful. I will tell you that after reading through some, different articles and checking out your school and everything, because I don't know nothing about you. It looks like a kid named Bobby Okioki or something like that. Okie dokie. 5th-year senior leads the unit with a fine young man named Sean Barton, who had a season-ending knee injury last year. That's what I wrote down. Hate it for you. Hope it doesn't. Your knee doesn't click when you walk, unless you can click in time. And then all of a sudden it's like click, clock, click, clock, click, clock, click, clock. And it's the Christmas song. And your knee could actually be the horse's click. Sorry, I chased a rabbit there. But you do have Elijah Holder, who will be back. Young man, he's going to be in the backfield for you. He has fought a lot of injuries, though. Young, and I'll tell you right now, his type probably needs to wear a helmet while he's in the shower. He just fall down and gets up hair lip. Hey, nah, and seriously, he has fought injuries. You did lose Justin Reed and Quentin Meeks because they decided to go make money in the pros. So, where does that land Stanford for this upcoming 2018 season? Let me turn to my trusty home computer. Very first week of the season, you're playing, August the 31st. It's a Friday. Beware of Friday games. Just ask Clemson at Syracuse. But you will play at your stadium, Stanford Stadium there. You'll play the San Diego State Aztecs. You get a chance to bring them in and, I don't know, tear their hair off their head. That game's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard. Another thing about Stanford not knowing much about them and a lot of those West Coast games. I mean, take me, for instance. I stay up late on Saturday nights. But I fell asleep, and I'm not joking here. I fell asleep one time, woke up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and Arizona was playing somebody. It was only early in the third quarter. You have that. That's why we just pull up, oh, so-and-so won or lost. That's why we don't know much about you. The very next week, you get to play a team who absolutely owned you last year. Yeah, the last game was a 3-point loss, but at the end of the day, they beat you twice. Lord, it's hard to beat somebody twice, but they did. Southern Cal Trojans. Fortunately for you, second week in a row, it's going to be at your field, and you have a chance to beat them. You got to think, Darnold's gone. He ain't there anymore, and your offense is on rhythm. So, maybe you can work up something there. I think you'll beat the Aztecs. Give you a toss-up on Southern Cal, but because it's at your house, I think you'll beat them. The next week, you're going to play UC Davis High School. Oh, it's going to be a beautiful time. They're going to pick their homecoming queen that week, so y'all be respectful even though they're playing at your stadium. You'll beat the living colors off of them. Then you go to the Oregon Ducks up there in Eugene, Oregon. I think you're going to win that ball game. I just have a feeling about it. You know, they've had 2 coaches in 2 years. One of them got there. He was all excited. Everybody's jacked up. Willie's here. And now it's Willie's gone. He's down in Tallahassee. Back there in Florida. But I think you'll be 4-0. Then you go to Notre Dame on September the 29th. Now, we know this game is going to be on NBC because it's always on NBC. But it's going to be at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 Pacific Time. And for all of y'all who are like me and you really don't pay attention to this, is probably a prime time you'll actually get to see Stanford play because they'll be playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame does play a lot of Southern teams like this coming year. So they'll play Virginia Tech and Wake Forest right up the road from us here, about 2.5 hours from where I live. But I think you're going to lose that game to Notre Dame, and here's the reason. Well, I take that back. I think you're going to beat Notre Dame. I just had a mind change. I think you're going to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost 2 fantastic offensive linemen that was picked in the top 10 in the NFL draft, and Josh Adams selected to leave. That running back was very, very nasty. I think you will beat them, and that's going to make you 5-0. Then you're going to come back home. You're going to play the Utah Utes. Utes. It always makes me think of Poots. Utah Utes at Stanford Stadium. And you're going to beat them, I think. I think you're going to beat them, and at this time you're going to be 6-0. Everybody's going to be crowing crazy, talking about how great you are. Then you're going to have a week off, and you actually get to sit down and read the magazines of how great you are. It's like if your mama picked up a pen and just out of nowhere, she just started talking about how great you are, signed somebody else's name to it, other people's believing it. Then you play at Arizona State. You're going to play against Herm Edwards. You're going to play against Herm. He's still going to be doing some television analysis. He's going to be coaching the team. He's going to be talking about lifting weights. He's going to be emphatic about it. You're going to beat them. And at this time, you're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0. Then you're going to come back to Stanford Stadium. You're going to play Washington State. You're going to beat Washington State. Then you've got to go up and play Washington. And I don't think that they're really enjoying what you guys did to them. It's at Washington, in Seattle. You're going to get your first loss. Next week, you're going to play Oregon State. You will beat Oregon State because everybody beats Oregon State, except for a few teams who they wear their helmets backwards, and Oregon State beats them. You're going to play at California. You're going to beat the Golden Bears. You really are. And you're going to cap off the season at UCLA. Between you and I, if Chip Kelly gets it nice and rolling for them, this could be a loss for you. I've already said this to several teams that's got to play UCLA. He's going to have time to fix this thing. He's not going to do it in this season. But he's a good enough coach to pick at least one game to get you. And this could be the game. But I'm still going to give you that you're going to beat UCLA. So that's one loss for you. I think Stanford, you have a great chance of losing 2 ball games. But I overall think that you're going to lose only one football game, which is going to throw a big old wrench in this college football playoff, why they should go to 8 teams instead of 4. I've been saying it for years. Everybody looks at me like I'm speaking Martian, except for a few people. Here's the deal. Now, how does the Bowl Championship Series, how do they do it? Oh, they play a series, just not 4 games. And then we got, number 5 here going, I should have been in. Why did Bama or Ohio State jump me? 8, I think, is a really, really good number, and it would work in this case. But I'm going to say this, Stanford, and I'm not picking at you. This is just the truth. If Clemson's undefeated, if Alabama even has 1 loss, if Georgia has just 1 loss, or they're undefeated, if Ohio State is undefeated, if Oklahoma is undefeated, and you have 1 loss, you're not going in. I'm not being a jerk. I just know the culture of college football playoff. Who's going to draw teams in? Stanford or Ohio State or Clemson or Georgia or, of course, Bama. It is what it is. Well, I hope y'all have a good one today. Enjoy yourself. Everybody remember, I hadn't announced this on this, been putting about it. I'm on Instagram now, at the Bobby Dirkens. So if you go on Instagram, find me at the Bobby Dirkens. Every day, every other day, I put up some posts, just a little something about life. Like today, or yesterday, I found Bobby Dirkens Jr. running around with money in his mouth. And it was just, I got to pull it out of his mouth. You didn't get to see it, but you got to hear me to whine about it. But anyway, y'all join me next time. But find me on Instagram. I'm on there. Lord help you, Bobby Dirkens.